Basketball games can change in an instant. So can your plans. That's why at United, there are no change fees on flights. Because while we love a change of plans in the Warriors' favor, we don't think anyone should get charged fees for changing theirs. No change fees, ever. United, the official airline of the Golden State Warriors. Does not include basic economy unless a United waiver applies. Exceptions apply for certain international flights.
Hey, Stephen Curry, it's game day, and you know what that means.
That you're going to talk like an announcer all day long?
Yes, and fans get 10% cash back in arena or online at Warriors Shop by using Rakuten.
That is pretty exciting.
Cash back on Warriors gear is exciting, Stephen Curry.
I think they know it's me.
Good point. We just need to tell them the website.
Rakuten.com/Warriors. RAKUTEN.com/Warriors.
Hot wings, hot and sour soup, and a hot fudge sundae. Your neighbor's DoorDash order for Golden State Warriors game days has gotten superstitiously specific. But hey, every order on DoorDash is a win for local businesses and Dashers. And if you're superstitious, it just might put the Warriors on a hot streak too.
Deep three on the way. Heat check.
Score one for the neighborhood on game day with DoorDash.
Heat check. Three.
Official partner of the Golden State Warriors. You've been listening to the Golden State Warriors Audio Network.
Presented by United Airlines.
This has been a presentation of Odyssey Sports. For even more coverage of your team, download the free Odyssey app and listen to your favorite stations, shows, and podcasts.
That's a wrap.
Yo, that's a wrap. It was an amazing experience. Hope everybody enjoyed it. Hope they got some laughs, some good entertainment.
This is Warriors Wrap Up on 95.7 The Game.
Here comes Vincent up the center screen. Thompson fights through it. Butler, pump fake, goes up. Tough shot. Got it! 9.5 to go. Timeout Warriors. And Golden State in deep trouble here. They trail 114-109.
Yeah, 114-109 at that point, and the Heat would go on to win it 116-109. Jimmy Butler putting the final nail in the coffin for the Warriors in this one. As we welcome you inside Warriors Wrap-Up, John Dickinson with you here for the next hour on 95.7 The Game. 888-957-9570. That is the phone number. You can give me a call or shoot me a text as we react to the Warriors taking their third consecutive L on this road trip, and the Dubs now still looking for their first road win of the year. 3-5 overall. It's 3 consecutive defeats. Now Charlotte, Detroit, and you can add Miami to the list tonight. Better effort for the Warriors in terms of playing, I think, with a purpose and trying to play harder defensively in this game. The offense and defense more connected in this game. They did knock down 18 three-pointers. But down the stretch, another blown lead for the Dubs as they had a 100-92 lead with about 9:40 to go, outscored 24-9 down the stretch from the moment in which Jordan Poole hit that three that made it 100-92. Over the final 5 minutes, the Warriors scoring just 2 points in this one. And, the Warriors wind up losing in this game 116-109. So another night where the bench really struggled, even though the Warriors came out and the starters jumped off to a 13-7 lead. Hard to blame the starters for putting the Warriors in position to win because they did just that. But in the final 5 minutes, some tough shot selection. I think the Warriors lived and died a little bit by the three-point shot in this game. They did knock down 18 of 49. And I thought while the Warriors did play with a better purpose and better connectivity, as I mentioned off the top of the show, a lot of the game tonight was the Heat are a much more offensively challenged team than some of these other teams the Warriors have played to this point in the season. And the Warriors were making threes at an extremely high level, which I think when you're making them, that offsets other things that maybe you don't do well. And you look at the turnovers tonight for the Warriors, another 20 turnover game. So the turnovers big time in the negative. Miami scoring 28 points off of turnovers, and the Warriors showing an ability for the most part to be able to defend the Heat enough to win this game in the half court, but the extra possessions and the extra points, more specifically off the turnovers, wind up flipping this game in the direction of the Miami Heat. So yeah, turnovers offsetting the three-pointers, which really put the Warriors in a great position to win, although Miami hit 16. So the advantage for the Warriors there, only 6 points on the scoreboard when you look at the Dubs, 18 of 49 and Miami 16 of 42. But the turnovers, an 11-point advantage for Miami, 28-17 as far as points off turnovers, and that winds up what typically the Warriors get into the 17-18, pushing the 20 range in terms of three-pointers made. They are going to beat just about anybody on a lot of nights, but tonight just too many other things not going well for the Warriors, and they continue to have a bench problem. Make no mistake. The Warriors got off to the lead, and then the bench came in, and it was a 20-3 run at the end of the first quarter. Immediately, you look up, and the Warriors in that middle of the quarter are putting Jordan Poole in the game. Rough night for Jordan Poole. They're putting Wiseman in the game, and then Moody comes in, JaMychal Green comes in, and it was all bad immediately late in that first quarter. First tipping point of the night in this one was really right then, and you look at the Warriors, better effort as I alluded to, but again, a lot of negatives for the Warriors as far as the plus minus went for that group, and it got ugly, and it got ugly fast, and the starters then had to come back in and overcome it, as they were able to do down the stretch in the first half. But yeah, Moody and JaMychal Green both minus 15. You had Jordan Poole minus 13, Wiseman and Ty Jerome minus 10. That was all in about a 5-minute stretch at the end of the first quarter, after the starters had gotten off to a 13-7 lead, and varying degrees of substitution, obviously, with Poole coming in, and then Wiseman, Moody, and Green came in a little bit later. It got worse at that point, and the Warriors just an uphill climb, but they were able to get back into the game in the second quarter, came out with 8 in a row to start the second, making shots, not getting to the line at that point in the game, although it eventually evened out to where the Heat wound up going to the free throw line 20 times. How about Miami from the free throw line? 20 for 20 in this game. So the Heat end up with a 7-point advantage from the free throw line in terms of makes. Warriors at 13-17. It winds up being a 7-point difference in the game. But the Warriors are going to have to figure out what the heck's going on with the bench, because there are a lot of guys right now that are not helping this team, and combinations that are not helping this team. And it really is top to bottom. I mean, you look at the bench players, Jordan Poole, a rough night for him, minus 23. JaMychal Green, minus 22 for the game in this one. I mean, just he was brutal. And James Wiseman, bad first half, played better in the second half. Moses Moody, bad first half, played better in the second half, but not a lot of minutes right now for the young guys, and easy to understand why there's not a lot of minutes right now for the young guys as you look at this thing, and they're letting leads get away. They're making the starters have to come back in the game and overcome it. And so the Warriors find themselves now in a hole at 3-5 and 0-3 on this road trip. So 888-957-9570, 888-957-9570. We'll hear from Steve Kerr. We'll hear from the Warriors locker room from down in Miami as well, as it is Warriors wrap up here on 95.7 The Game. Yeah, Jordan Poole, not just 2, 3 palming turnovers, and you're not going to want to miss what Steve Kerr had to say about the palming turnovers. Poole actually led the league last year, if I'm not mistaken, in palming turnovers, but I think he led the league with like 6 for an entire season. Tonight he picked up 3, and yeah, Steve Kerr saying after the game that apparently there was a league-wide memo that went out today, which he didn't see because he didn't check his email today. and that maybe kind of angrily Kerr quipping that maybe the league will try to stop traveling at some point next week and send out an email to try and correct that. But yeah, bizarre, the palming violations. You also have down the stretch of the game, Curry fouled on a 3 after Jimmy Butler had the spin move and the and one that put Miami up 112-109. Curry fouled on a 3 by Jimmy Butler as the Heat went to the zone in the last 5 minutes of the game. The Heat challenged it, and originally I thought that's a brutal challenge by Miami, but the officials ruling that Butler had blocked a piece of the shot first, and then the contact was a high five, and essentially after the defender, if he blocks the shot first, then it's really anything goes after that, and they ruled that he did. So not only did the Warriors not get the 3 free throws that likely would have tied the game at that point and salvaged it at 112-112, but the Heat wound up with the basketball off of that as well. So the Warriors down 3. They did force a missed Gabe Vincent three-pointer from the corner, but then Klay Thompson, a couple of more missed threes in between, another Vincent miss, an over-the-back loose ball foul on Bam Adebayo, and the Warriors just settling for threes down the stretch, I think kind of a victim of the fact that they were shooting the 3 ball so well, and then the close out-of-bounds play that was ruled out of bounds to Miami, Steve Kerr choosing not to challenge that play, and then Jimmy Butler hit the jumper that basically put this thing away at 114-109, which we played off the top. So 888-957-9570. That is the phone number to participate in the program. You can give me a call or shoot me a text as we react to this one on Warriors Wrap-Up on 95.7 The Game. Give me your concern level now. And the Warriors finding themselves in this position where they're a lot of veteran players. I think there's been not really coming out with the proper intensity in some of these games. I thought that was the issue at times in Detroit. But tonight they clearly valued the name brand opponent, as I'll call them, in Miami, and a team that historically is tough and was a play away from getting into the NBA Finals last year, essentially against Boston in a Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals. So the Heat got the Warriors' attention tonight, and I think it goes to, and I think Fitz on the television broadcast made the point, although it is the quintessential point that bad teams make, and that is, hey, if you bring that kind of effort against the lesser opponents of the last 2 games that you had to play, you probably walk out of Detroit and you walk out of Charlotte victorious. But the Warriors didn't do that. And unfortunately, the Warriors, at least on the road right now, are a bad team. I mean, 0-4 speaks for itself right now. And the turnovers and the bench problems and losing fourth quarter leads, just an inability to maintain. I think you're seeing teams right now fearing the Warriors a little bit less than maybe they have at other junctures with Golden State, being in this position where they are looking a little bit more vulnerable at the early point of this season. And the bottom line is the fact that the Warriors can't lose too many of these, even 8 games in, to a point where they wind up on the fringe of being a play-in team versus being a top 6 team. And look, it's probably a little bit early to be talking about that, but the last thing that you want to do is find yourself in March having a conversation about, well, if they can just stay out of the play-in, they can make a run. The reality is you probably need to be a top 4 seed if you're going to make a legitimate run. And that's not off the table at this point. I mean, nothing's off the table at this point, but the Warriors have a long way to go as far as figuring out not necessarily the rotation, but just how to get more productivity out of these bench players in a manner that is cohesive with the veteran players. Because right now I think you could make the case that the Warriors veteran players are looking around and wondering if they have enough on this team to make the run and have what it takes to compete for the ultimate goal, which is an NBA championship. They clearly don't at this point right now on November the 1st. The good news for the Warriors is they've got 5-6 months to try and figure it out. So 888-957-9570, 888-957-9570. Let's get to the phones here and get it started with Jerry on 95.7 The Game. Hey, Jerry, you're on Warriors Wrap-Up. What's going on tonight?
Hey, brother. Just watching the game. The Warriors are not playing well, and I think they need a lineup shakeup. I think they should go kind of what the Clippers used to do with having Williams and Harold come off the bench. I think Clay needs to go to the second team and not move Poole up. You need Poole on the second team, and I'd start Moody. Clay needs a little more responsibility, like rebounding and possibly driving, getting free throws. Like the old Klay Thompson, he needs to quit talking about getting back to where he was. This is the new Klay Thompson. And I think it was a mistake to bring him back and insert him into the starting lineup. He should have worked his way in from the bench. And they need to balance out the two teams. They need Klay's defense on the second team. And you just need to stick a player in with the first team that's not going to screw it all up. And right now it looks like maybe Moody might be that guy. And they need to develop these young players because they're a ways from it. And, yeah, because they do look old against the last two losses, those teams, the Hornets and Detroit, those guys are athletic. They need to balance out these two teams and stay in the game in the first half. All right. And it also really bugged me, Clay whining about Barkley. Barkley's doing his job, and Clay's earning an average of $38 million a year. He's got to shut up and play.
All right, thanks for the call. Appreciate the call. I don't think a starting lineup changes the issue. And you look at tonight, the starters were not the issue. And I get it. You're saying you fix the starters by bringing somebody off the bench and putting them into the starting lineup, and you juggle it a little bit. Every Warriors starter was a plus tonight. Every single one of them. Like, the Warriors starters played great in this game at the beginning of the first to close the half, at the beginning of the third to help the Warriors to a 38-28 advantage in that third quarter that put them in a spot where they had the lead go into the fourth quarter and a 5-point lead and in control to win this thing down the stretch. But to me, it's more about, and Steve Kerr has done this, he's put Looney in there and Wiggins to try and solidify things as far as the bench group goes, but he's not taking Klay Thompson out of the starting lineup. And I know we've had a couple of texts here on the Xfinity mobile text line going through, hey, positives, 510, Klay's looking more like himself. Did he look more like himself? Because I could say at times he did, but you look up at the end of the night, and he's 7 for 19, and he's 4 of 12 from 3, and he misses a couple down the stretch. So 19 points for Klay. He was a +6, as I mentioned, as far as that group that was all plus among the starters. But at the end of the night, it was 4 for 12. It wasn't 6 for 12, and the Warriors tonight needed it to be 6 for 12 if they were going to ultimately win this game. I do think, though, it is a positive sign only in that it's been so bad to this point from Klay Thompson. So 888-957-9570. Bill in San Jose next year on Warriors Wrap-Up on 95.7 The Game.
Hey, here's my question. Do you think the Warriors miss Mike Brown as a defensive coach? The way I see it, maybe not so much tonight. I couldn't tell. I was working. But against Charlotte and Detroit, it just seems like they don't guard the three-point line. They're just giving guys a lot of uncontested threes, and it just seems like their defensive cohesion is not there. I'm wondering if it's coaching.
It could be. And look, but Mike Brown's not coming back, so they've got to figure it out. And that's a question that's come up a lot. I do think it's hurting them right now. I think there were some game-specific things that the Warriors did, especially at the beginning last year when Mike Brown was in charge of the defense, that helped them and that put them in a spot to win games. So I think the reality is, though, they've got to adjust and they've got to figure it out. The Warriors gave up 58 in each half tonight, although I made the point to buddy Matt Steinmetz via text here watching the game that 58 to the Heat is like 68 to another team. So while you could make the case that it was a little bit better tonight defensively, the Heat are a team that is more easily guarded than some of these other teams because they aren't as athletic as some of these other teams and youthful or as great a shooting team typically from the three-point line and just in general. But tonight, you get to the free throw line 20 times and you make all 20 of them, and that can offset a lot of different mistakes and other issues. So 888-957-9570. Doug in Berkeley next on Warriors Wrap-Up. Hey, Doug, you're on 95.7 The Game.
Hey, good evening. Good evening. I just have a couple of things to say. First is that, if you look at the season so far, the big glaring problem is defense. As you just pointed out, we missed GP2 a lot more than I think we thought we were going to miss GP2. He added a lot of cohesion to that defensive unit. When you look at the defenders that we have, when Wiggins is not playing at the top of his game and Draymond is not playing at the top of his game, we don't have a strong defensive team. The second thing I want to say, and it's scary to me, but we are one player away from not making the playoffs in the Western Conference. If, based on what we've seen so far, if anything happens with Steph this year, we are more dependent on him than we've ever been. Strength in numbers is not what's happening right now. And if we are one player away from not making the playoffs in the Western Conference, looking at the Western Conference strength now, I hope it all gets turned around. Thanks for taking my call.
Yeah, no, thanks for the call. Appreciate it. 888-957-9570. Doug in Berkeley checking in here on 95.7 The Game. That is the one thing that getting off to a 3-5 start does, is it puts you in danger of, if you do have an injury and then you have another rough patch, all of a sudden you're in a big-time uphill climb over the course of the rest of the season. So losing these games is not without consequence. And I always ask the question, when you lose or you don't play well, what does it cost you? And I think the Warriors, during the heyday of winning championships and contending for championships, when the Warriors had an off night or they let a game slip away, even when it drew the ire of the Warrior fan base, for the most part, they were always in position to be able to handle it or withstand it or overcome it. And you look at where the Warriors are at right now, and they are in a little bit of a danger zone right now at 3-5. I mean, you look at, again, very early, what are we, not even 10% into the season at this point, but they're down there with Sacramento and the Lakers and the Rockets in the Western Conference. I mean, they're 12th right now. And in the Western Conference, ahead of only Sacramento, the Lakers, and the Rockets. You got the Clippers and the Mavs are right there with them at 3-4 and 3-3. The Grizzlies are 4-3. I mean, your play-in teams right now would Memphis and Dallas would be play-in teams, and the Clippers wouldn't even be in the play-in tournament. So it's very, 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 very early. But you don't want to end up where 3-5 turns into 7-10. And then you have an injury. And at that point, you're 10-16 because you lose Steph or you lose a couple of guys for a couple of weeks, and then you have to try to bounce back from that. So I think that the point is valid. As far as the defense goes, it really is just a lot of it is the defense it's twofold. The bench guys are not playing good defense really at all under any circumstances when they're in the game. So on the nights where the starters have played well and have played good defense, the bench, for the most part, is allowing the opposition back in the game, and leads that are built are getting wiped away. The other part of the problem is the nights where the starters come out as defending champions with some of that championship hangover and want to try to win a game by just outscoring a team, and the Warriors have gotten bit on a couple of those nights already so far this season, to where they haven't been able to do that either. And we've seen in the past where this team can just get in enough of an offensive flow, make a few defensive plays down the stretch, and win. And to this point, they haven't been able to do it at the level that I think they are used to doing it. And we've seen other teams throughout the league try to do that and get bit by it and not be able to overcome it as well. Clippers from time to time on the load management. I mean, it is a reason why a lot of these teams wind up with poor playoff positioning. The Lakers a couple of years ago had it happen, and then they got injured, and then they wound up as the 7th seed. And so you have to be very, very careful. But the upside-down standings right now in the Western Conference, I do think will flip at some point. But the Warriors do have to be more committed, I think, at some point with consistent, purposeful efforts every night from the starters to lift up the bench group. And right on the table as far as the bench group goes, we've talked about Moody and we've talked about Kuminga and we've talked about, by the way, Kuminga, DNP coach's decision. We've talked about Wiseman, who was pretty rough in the first half, played better in the second half. I think the most glaring problem that the Warriors have right now is Jordan Poole off the bench, because he's supposed to be somebody that's almost treated as a veteran now to help hold that group up, to carry that group, and also to be a bridge to help the starters when he's out there on the floor with them. And right now, Jordan Poole, whether it's the turnovers with the palming violations or not making threes or defensively being a sieve, it's really caused a lot of problems because he's somebody now that's paid like a big boy. And so I know the contract doesn't technically kick in until next year, but he's at the point where you're not the fresh, young, up-and-coming story, and the Warriors didn't necessarily pay him to be a superstar. I'm not talking about Jordan Poole being a superstar. I'm talking about Jordan Poole just playing at a level that he played at last year, functional enough to where he's a net positive based on his offensive game, and that hasn't quite been there to this point. So 888-957-9570. We'll go ahead and pause. We'll come back. We'll get to Dale in Walnut Creek. We'll hear from Steve Kerr. We'll get to some text messages on the Xfinity mobile text line. Heat beat the Warriors tonight, 116-109. You heard it right here at 95.7 The Game.
It's Joe Shasky from the Morning Roast. And if you're an independent restaurateur or are starting a brand new business, then you gotta know about my friends at Trimark. Trimark, making independent restaurateurs' dreams come true in Northern California for over 55 years. Whether you're designing your next restaurant or you need equipment and supplies, this is where Trimark comes in. They do it all. And what's most important to them is being a partner to their business customers. Visit TrimarkWest.com. That's TrimarkWest.com.
At Fisher Investments, we do things differently, and other money managers don't understand why.
Because our way works great for us.
But it may not work for your clients. That's why Fisher Investments is a fiduciary, obligated to put clients first. It's the highest standard for a financial advisor.
So, what do you provide? Cookie-cutter portfolios like the rest of us?
No cookie-cutter portfolios here. Fisher Investments tailors portfolios to meet each client's goals and needs.
But you do sell investments that earn you high commissions, right? And make commissions when you make trades for your clients?
No, Fisher Investments doesn't sell any commission investment products, and we never earn commissions on trades.
So what's in it for you?
Fisher Investments fees are structured so we do better when our clients do better. When it comes to helping clients achieve a comfortable retirement, we're clearly different. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you switch to us. Fisher Investments, clearly different money management.
Investments in securities involve the risk of loss.
Do you have neuropathy? Are you experiencing numbness, tingling, and pain that just won't stop? Are you taking dangerous drugs that have serious side effects and never fix the pain? If so, please listen to this message. Neuropathy is a serious, progressive condition that only gets worse if not treated properly. Call SF Bay Wellness at 844-94-NERVE to get back to doing the things you want to do. There is no drug, exercise, or surgery that can heal nerves. Don't wait until your condition gets worse and stops you from living your life fully. SF Bay Wellness has a time-tested, proven track record of helping hundreds of patients to improve and reverse their neuropathy. If you're ready to regain your independence, contact SF Bay Wellness at 844-94-NERVE. Call now for your $99 neuropathy special and receive a personal treatment plan that is tailored to your needs. Call 844-94-NERVE. That's 844-94-NERVE and start to enjoy life again.
Are you kidding me? Gas prices are up again? Somebody has to do something.
Well, someone did. That's why I use Upside.
Upside? What's that?
It's a free app that pays you back real money for every gallon of gas or diesel you buy. I just earned 25 cents back on every gallon of this tank.
Hold on. So the Upside app is free and you actually get cash back every time you use it? No strings attached?
Yep, it's awesome. Check it out. It only takes a couple of minutes to sign up.
Instead of just watching your dollars go into your tank, start putting money back into your wallet with the free app from Upside. With the price of gas today, it's big news and big money. To cash out of your Upside cash, just transfer it to your bank account, PayPal, or a gift card. Upside users have already earned over $200 million. Now it's your turn. Download the free Upside app and get cash back on every gallon of gas. Use promo code GOLF for an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first fill-up. That's code GOLF. Use code GOLF for an extra 25 cents per gallon back in your first fill-up. Cashback's not available in gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
I used to get frequent heartburn at night, so I made Prilosec OTC part of my morning routine.
One pill in the morning, 24 hours, zero heartburn with Prilosec OTC. It's possible while taking Prilosec OTC. Use as directed for 14 days to treat frequent heartburn, not for immediate relief.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting enrolls for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop, opt out. Go to getrbawindows.com for full offer details.
Homeowners, do you know when to replace your windows? Feeling too hot or cold? It's time to replace. Can't see through fog between the glass? Time to replace. Spending too much on expensive energy that literally goes out the window? It's definitely time to replace. If you've put off replacing windows in your home because it's too expensive, here's great news. You can now get a free in-home window consultation and free price quote from Renewal by Andersen, the company with the most 5-star reviews among leading full-service window replacement companies. And during their Black Friday sale, you can save $355 off every window and $910 off every door. Just text REVIEW to 323232 for your free consultation on top quality affordable windows or patio doors for $0 down, 0 payments, and 0 interest for a year. That's right, you don't pay a dime for an entire year. Plus, you can save $355 off every window and $910 off every door. But hurry, this offer ends November 25th. Text REVIEW to 323232 right now. Don't go into winter with drafty windows. Text the word REVIEW to 323232. Don't wait. Text REVIEW to 323232.
My heart was racing just making spaghetti. I could have waited to tell my doctor, but I didn't wait.
I was short of breath just reading a book. I could have delayed telling my doctor, but I didn't wait.
They told their doctors and found out they have atrial fibrillation, a condition which makes it about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. If you have one or more of these symptoms, irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness, this is no time to wait. Contact your doctor.
Brought to you by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Kirby is your driveway mechanic. They bring the shop to you with brake replacements, oil changes, washes, and so much more. Get $50 off your first oil change with code OIL50 at Kirby.com. That's CURBEE.com and use code OIL50.
He's the best interview in the Bay Area.
Splish Splash. Coach, are you taking a bath?
Can you hear a little water in the background? Yeah! He's a 9-time NBA champion.
Not 5, not 6, not 7.
And he's on with Damon and Ratto every single week during the NBA season. Wow. It's Warriors head coach Steve Kerr on 95.7 The Game. Presented by Xfinity. Supercharge your home with supersonic Wi-Fi. Unbeatable internet only from Xfinity.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM in HD1 San Francisco. Always live on Twitch, YouTube, and the free Odyssey app.
Makes it 112 to 109. Warriors down 3, in trouble here. Minute 45 to go. Screen by Wiggins. Bounce pass to Draymond. Back to Curry. Straightens up. Shot, a whistle, and a foul. Butler fouled Curry. He's going to get 3 shots. Wow.
Now back to Warriors Wrap-Up on 95.7 The Game.
Yeah, big moment in this one. Warriors down 112 to 109. Steph Curry initially fouled by Jimmy Butler. At least that was the call on the floor. Looked like Steph was going to get 3 free throws to potentially tie the game at 112. He challenged the call, and I thought it was a brutal challenge in the moment. I thought, wow, clearly Jimmy Butler had hit Steph on the way down, and that's just a foul call that frankly, whether you love it or you hate it, it's a part of the game at this point, and a lot of guys wind up getting that call, and typically if there's any kind of contact at all, that winds up being a situation where the offensive players go into the line for 3 free throws, but if it was in fact a block, and after review, the officials, Bill Kennedy, he came and announced the fact that Jimmy Butler had gotten a piece of the ball upon review, and once it's a block, that negates the contact that was made. Basically, the contact was hand-to-hand like a high five, and if you block the shot, you can have a high five scenario with the defender and have it not be a foul. So the Heat wound up with the ball off of that, and there were a couple of possessions where the Warriors got a couple of stops, but Klay Thompson missed a couple of threes, and the ball went out of bounds off the Warriors, and Jimmy Butler ended up putting the game away. But yeah, key call in that one. I thought the Warriors were going to be in a position where, hey, you get the game tied there, you get a stop, you try and take the lead, and then you're in a position where you're the team trying to make the defensive stop at the end to ice the game. But no, the Warriors at this point not getting the breaks as far as that goes, and not getting the breaks as far as, putting yourself in a spot where you're playing with enough purpose consistently to where you make your own breaks, unfortunately, and you add it all up, and the Warriors wind up losing this one 116-109. So 888-957-9570. Warriors now 3-5, 0-4 on the road, 0-3 on this 5-game trip. They're in Orlando Thursday and New Orleans on Friday. When is the last time the Warriors lost their first 4 games on the road, you ask? 2011, 2012. The lockout shortened season of 11-12, the 66-game campaign, and that was Mark Jackson's first year. So before the Warriors began their run of making the playoffs the following season, I think that team was 23-43 in a 66-game campaign. That was the last time that the Warriors lost their first 4 on the road. 888-957-9570. Dale in Walnut Creek next year on Warriors Wrap-Up on 95.7 The Game. Hey, Dale.
Hey, how's it going tonight?
What's going on, man?
I just want to say it's early, but it looks worrisome. People are talking about when the second team comes in, it doesn't look so good. I'm looking at these first 5 or 6 games, and the starters are giving up a lot of points in the first quarter, and the starters are behind in the first quarter too. I think it's more systemic than just the new guys, the role players. There's something missing. I know we lost Mike Brown to Sacramento. Maybe that's it. Maybe that certainly is probably part of it. But there's something else missing with this team, and as a fan, I really hope they get it together, but I don't think you can put it all on the second team, because the first team is getting outscored and not playing defense in the first quarter either. Steve Kerr hopefully can turn it around. I don't know. That's all I got to say. Thanks for taking the call.
Appreciate it, Dale. No, it's definitely not all on the bench guys, but it's also not the 2014-2015 bench, which I think I'm going to bring this up on every postgame show this season. Steve Kerr actually compared this bench to the 2014-2015 bench, the strength in numbers, championship-winning bench, with Andre Iguodala good enough to be a starter, but coming off the bench to allow Harrison Barnes to get his run, and ends up being a Finals MVP. Sean Livingston being a key component of that bench, and Leandro Barbosa, and Mo Spates, and Festus Ezeli, and David Lee after his injury coming back and being a part of that bench. That was this bench, could it get to that point? Probably not, really. But to go back to Dale's point about the starters, there is a lack of connectivity, I think, right now. There is. They just are off. They are. They're just unsure almost in what they're trying to do or in how good they are, I think, when they get in tough predicaments in games. I think they are so used to being able to not play well, or play only an offensive game, and then at a point in which they feel like they need to reach back and find another gear, they're historically able to find it and flip the game. And I think what's happening right now is when the Warriors are reaching back and saying, okay, it's winning time right now, let's go get it, or let's turn this game around, they're not able to quite do it as consistently as they were able to do it in the past. And I think you're seeing it in some of these games where the game gets close down the stretch. The Charlotte game, I think, is an example. I think tonight's game is an example of it, where the game is right there hanging in the balance, and you're thinking, all right, this is where Draymond's going to make a huge defensive play. This is where Klay Thompson is going to make a couple of big threes when he's left wide open, and he doesn't. And, this is where you think a call is going to go the Warriors' way, maybe, and you're going to wind up taking the game from that point on. And it just feels like nothing is quite going their way, but they're not making their own breaks. And they're also reaching back for something that I think just isn't there. And I think what it comes down to is if the margin for error for this team isn't going to be as great, then that means you're going to have to play harder, more consistently. And the Warriors used to be able to get away with playing 12 great minutes against anybody on any night. And if they played 12 great minutes, that was enough to win the game. And now you got to play more than that, right? Down 9 at the end of the first quarter after you were up 6. And you make it up to where you're within 2 at halftime. You come out in the third quarter, you outscore them 38-28, and you look at the middle of the game, right? The second and the third quarters, middle of the game, the Warriors put up 70. They put up 70 in the second and third quarters. It was 70-53 in the middle 2 quarters in favor of the Warriors. But the bench group bit them in the ass in the first half after they had the lead. And then down the stretch, they have an 8-point lead or in complete control, had dominated the last 2 quarters overall, but Miami's able to claw back. And it's like the Warriors there's not enough go and get it when they need to, and there's not enough put away, and there's not enough, hey, the game's hanging in the balance. The Warriors are winning this game because they're the Warriors, and they've got the champion's blood, and they've got the future Hall of Famers. There's just less of a consistency, and there's it's almost as if the Warriors can kind of sense now that in the regular season on a night in, night out basis that they're a little more vulnerable. They're less invincible than they were, in part because they're a little bit older, and I think in part because the veteran players, the guys with the champion's blood, look at it and know that there isn't necessarily enough in some of the other areas on this roster. So 888-957-9570. Let's go ahead and hear from Steve Kerr as he addressed the media from Miami FTX Arena following this loss.
Your bench was cumulatively very fine today. I guess what did you see from that whole season that remains kind of unsuccessful?
Well, we're still finding our way, as a bench unit, and still, looking at combinations and learning a lot here in the early part of the season. So, all in all, I was really pleased with the effort. I thought the guys played well enough to win. We didn't close the game. I give Miami credit. They stifled us in that last 5 minutes with their zone, and they were super active in it. And so we've got to look at that. I expect we'll see some more of that. But Miami we knew they were going to be competitive and like they always are, but especially coming in at 2-5 and playing a home game. So we got their best punch in that fourth quarter, and we just couldn't quite close the deal. But I'm really happy with our progress as a team, and the bench stuff, the young guys, that'll all play itself out, and we'll be okay.
I can't remember if it was the Charlotte or Detroit game that Draymond made a comment. Usually you guys are able to close out those tight down the stretch. What has changed, I guess, particularly in this game? I mentioned.
Well, 30-15. I mean, 30 points is too much. It's too many, I should say. And 15, we got to do better than that. So, we played, I think, a really solid 3 quarters of two-way basketball, and then a lot of mistakes in the fourth. So every team is different. This is not last year's team. This is not the team from 2015 or 17 or 18. It's a new team. So we just have to find our way. And as I said, I really liked the fight tonight, and I liked a lot of the things we did. If we keep playing like that and clean a couple of things up, we're going to be in good shape.
Kind of your favorite subject, replay review. What did you think about the overturned foul rate and how much it was impacted?
I didn't see a replay, so I didn't get a good enough look at it. But usually if a guy gets the ball first on a block, then anything goes. So I expected that one to be overturned.
Well, start for James, a little later in the third quarter. What did you see?
Yeah, James bounced back really well, and this is all part of it for him being a young guy and, playing in these intense games. Did a really good job responding, played a good third quarter. I thought Moses came in, did an excellent job too, aggressively looked to shoot when he was open and competed out there. And so those guys did a nice job tonight.
They called 3 carries on Jordan. Did you know that was maybe going to be an emphasis on getting more?
I guess there was an email that went out today, and honestly, I didn't check my email. We got a game today. I'm not looking at emails. So I was shocked because basically the whole league does that. They've been doing it ever since Allen Iverson convinced the referees that it wasn't a carry. It is a carry. What Jordan does is a carry, but the whole league's been doing it. So I guess I got to start checking my email on game days.
Coach, you also mentioned the young core of the team and how moving forward they're going to play a pivotal role. What do you expect to see from them in coming games? Remember, we experienced this earlier on in the season.
I expect them to get better because they're talented guys. They're committed. They're smart. So this is all part of their growth and development as young players.
We talked about how you felt there was a lack of urgency in figuring out some of the issues that you guys are going through right now. Do you feel that tone of urgency has shifted?
Yeah, tonight was great from a competitive standpoint. The ball was flying around in a good way. The first quarter was beautiful. Wiggs made some great passes. We were getting each other great shots. So that was a big step forward for us. And that's always been the way we've played. It's always what we've hung our hat on is ball movement and unselfishness. And I saw a lot of that tonight.
Feel a little bit more of that connectivity kind of missions than absent in recent games.
Yeah, the ball movement leads to that for sure. And I thought the defense was better. It wasn't perfect, but I thought we competed. I'm looking forward also to next week's email where they announce they're going to start calling traveling also, because that's for sure coming. Because I know if they're going to fix the palming, they're for sure going to fix the traveling.
Wow. So Steve Kerr after the game there, taking a little bit of a shot, saying he didn't check his email, and apparently the email went out today. Some sarcasm there as far as the palming violations, acknowledging that what Jordan Poole is doing is palming, and he's right. It is palming. And Jordan Poole got called for that, I think, more than any other player last year. He does have a pretty blatant put his hand under the ball and turn it over, but also stop. Like he stops his dribble, I think, in a more pronounced way than other players do. So I think this is the kind of thing where the way that he plays and gets an advantage from it, that's something that maybe he's going to have to work on it. And if it is a point of emphasis, like I said, he got called for it, I think it was 5 or 6 times last year, which was the league lead. It's already been 3 times, and this was not, he got called for it a couple of times, I think, in the first 2 weeks as well, at least once or twice. So that's something that they're going to have to obviously keep an eye on with Jordan. As far as the foul call, Steve Kerr explaining it kind of how I did. If you get to a point where the player blocks the shot, at that point the rest of it is allowed. And the big overarching points, liking the effort. And I think the point is there was more urgency from the Warriors tonight, but you got to bring that urgency more consistently than the Warriors have brought that urgency to this point of the season. They didn't have that urgency in Charlotte. They didn't have that urgency in Detroit. If they had, they probably win one or both of those games. If you bring that urgency in Orlando, you win. And then the Pelicans, we'll see. It's the 5th game in 7 nights. You got to see who's going to end up playing for the Warriors or not playing for the Warriors. If they wind up resting players, they ended up not resting anybody other than Clay on the second of a back-to-back in Detroit. So this trip is off to really a catastrophic start at this point, but I think the most important point as Kerr tries to be patient with his team is this team isn't good enough to only win fully bringing it a third of the time or half the time. They're showing that they're more vulnerable against any opponent. And you don't necessarily need tonight's win, but you need the wins against the Charlottes and you need the wins against the Orlandos and the Detroits to help hold your record up and not be in a spot where you're fighting for a 7 seed or a 6 seed come March and April. 888-957-9570. A couple of calls here. It's John Dickinson, Warriors wrap-up on 95.7 The Game. Schleprock in San Jose. What's up, Schleprock?
JD, what's going on? Boots on the ground. Here's what I see is the problem, and I'm going to sound like a scoundrel, but I think Clay's the problem these first 7 games. Not all on Clay, but if Clay has a regular line, like Clay does, that's, at least 12 points more a game, and we're just not getting them. He's missing wide open threes. I don't know if his legs aren't under him yet or whatever. But in these first 7 games, he's a big problem why they've lost, I'm going to say, 3 of those 5 games. And I might sound like a scoundrel. I'm not putting it on the young cats because those young cats, the more games they get underneath their belt, the better they're going to become. They're not going to be the 2014, 2015 bench, but, hey, they're going to get better every game. But to me, I'm putting a rat on the table, as Guru says, and I think it's Clay. Bye-bye.
Thanks for the call. I mean, Clay's averaging 12 points per game. He's averaging 19.5 in his career. And he's averaging 12.3 coming into tonight. It'll go up a little bit tonight as he had 19 tonight on the 7 of 19 and 4 of 12 from three-point range. So he shoots 33% from 3 tonight. Over the course of the season, he's under 30% coming into the game. So that goes up a little bit tonight. But yeah, you look at Klay Thompson. I mean, I don't think it's 12 points per game, but it's at least 6 or 7 on average. Hell, can he get to 16 points per game? I think would be key here for the Warriors at this point. But yeah, like you go through the game logs, and it hasn't been pretty to this point, and it's not what we're used to. I think the question though is, and I've said this a few times, and I don't want to belabor it. There's a level Clay needs to get to that's in between where he is now and where he used to be. I think the expectation has to, at some point, not be that he's going to be what he used to be. And part of that is not as many dominant games, not as many that Clay goes completely out of his mind, white hot games, but it's also he may not make as many of those threes in the big moments when he has a chance to tie a game or it's a dagger. He's going to hit some of them, but he's not going to do it as consistently. The Warriors are going to have to overcome it and find other ways to win games. So it's definitely something to keep an eye on. But as far as the call goes, I mean, it has been a big part of the Warriors' struggles in the early going is they're not getting what I think they thought they'd be getting, even in the 25 minutes average that he's been playing. Ricky is up next. Final caller of the night here, Ricky on 95.7 The Game. Hey, Ricky.
Hey, John. Thank you for having me on, man. Listen,
what's up, brother?
I'm a big Klay Thompson fan. I was like, woohoo! I got my jersey. My dog got his jersey. Like I said, he's just a joy to watch. But he is struggling this season. I've always defended Klay. I try to defend Klay, and but he's just struggling. What I saw today, the last 3 minutes, man, especially that 2-on-1 with Draymond giving him the ball for the easy layup. He didn't even get the layup or the call. I mean, it was just a bad, miss. And I don't know, man. I mean, I expected Klay to be dominant this season. And last night, there was a game on the Clippers and the Clippers and the Rockets. And I saw John Wall, and I'm like, I thought about Klay because, I expected Klay to be Klay. But look at John Wall, man. John Wall had, tore Achilles. I think he had a surgery on his knee, too. I mean, how many years, John Wall wasn't in his prime? And, it took him a while just to, be, a serviceable player. And Klay, with his injuries history, we're looking at Klay to be dominant. He was pretty good last year. He still gave you 20 points in 37 games in the regular season. But, I don't think that's going to be Klay anymore. I think we just got to look at, the process that Klay's going through, game by game. And, hopefully, he doesn't slip that bad that he has to be coming off the bench. I still want him to be a starter. But, that John Wall and Klay Thompson comparison when it comes to injuries, man, I think that's a good comparison, man. Thank you, John, for your time, man.
Thanks for the call, Ricky. 888-957-9570, although I guess Ricky's going to be our final caller of the evening here on Warriors Wrap-Up. We'll hear a couple minutes of Draymond Green before we get out of here. I want to clean up a couple of text messages as well. A lot of good text messages with the phone calls. Haven't had an opportunity to get to. The 510 bringing up Gary Payton II. Again, he's going to make his debut here coming up for Portland. Set a tone defensively and knock down shots. It's true. 510 as well. No GP2, no Otto Porter, no Damian Lee even. I know a lot of Warrior fans thinking, what the hell are you talking about? But Damian Lee was a playable, trustable vet for the Warriors last year. But Porter and GP2 are the two for sure. So I think, they miss him flat out, but you weren't going to be able to keep everybody, and those two found homes with nice paydays in other areas with Toronto and with Portland, although neither has been playing for their respective new teams. But they're going to have to figure out a way. JaMychal Green hasn't filled the void, and whether it's been Moody or DiVincenzo, or who's been out with an injury, the Warriors have not been able to offset that. And at this point, that's part of the reason why the bench hasn't been as productive. And I'll say this, as far as looking ahead to who's going to be playable in the playoffs and who's not, I think the Warriors are going to have to go get a veteran 4-5 unless they can come up with some significant improvements from Wiseman and from JaMychal Green and or Kuminga. And I'm not ruling JaMychal Green out as being playable in the playoffs. I think DiVincenzo probably can. I think Moody among the young players is the most likely to be playable in a playoff series. But if they can't, so they could cobble it together. Iguodala can play some. So I think you have enough wings, and Klay can play up a peg if he's playing guarding threes. Hell, he was guarding fours at times in the finals last year and holding his own. So I think what it becomes, though, is can the Warrior, do they have enough from the 4-5 spot if Wiseman's unplayable and JaMychal Green is up and down? He's had a couple of good games. He's had some bad games. Tonight was not a great JaMychal Green game. Do you need to go out and get a veteran 4-5 with your empty roster spot and throw a little bit more luxury tax money on top of it to try and help yourself with one more rotation playable type player? That's something to keep an eye on. You might say it's way too early, but it's something to keep an eye on. All right. Let's hear a couple of minutes of Draymond Green real quick, and then we'll call it a night as Draymond addressed the media after the loss.
I thought our energy was better at times, but we still got to put it together and win games.
I went down the stretch, getting back to trouble. Steve said it was something I'm not going to see going forward. Why was that different?
They were flying around in the zone. They're lesser defenders that were on the floor at that time. They were able to hide with the zone, and we just didn't execute well. You got to try to get in the weak spots of the zone and attack it. And I don't think we did a good job of that.
Tonight's game had a very play-up taste, if you may.
Did it?
I mean, you guys went blow for blow in the fourth. And what is going to be the key to really closing out games like this that are happening so early in the season as you move on?
You just got to lessen the mistakes. What it boils down to at the end of the game is stops. And we have lacked these first 8 games in getting stops. And so in order to win games, close games down the stretch, you score points. That's great. But you have to get stops. And we just didn't do that, and they did.
They called Jordan for the 3 carries. I guess it was something that they had emailed and said it was going to be an added emphasis. Number one, did you guys know that?
If you're going to call that, you better call it, because every guard in the NBA carries a lot. And some of the best ball handlers in the NBA carries often. So if it's a point of emphasis, then let's see it. But I'm not sure how many I've seen all year in a C3 in one game on one guy. So if it's a point of emphasis, great. But let's see it then. Because what they get 1, I love Kyle. I love Jimmy. They're great, but they not carrying the whole game. So if we only got one, and I think it was on Caleb Martin or one of those guys in front of our bench. There's only one. Can't be too much of a point of emphasis. So would love to see it continue being called.
All right, so Draymond Green there, putting the palming violations to bed as far as Jordan Poole picking up 3 of them in the game tonight. So that'll do it. Warriors now 3-5 as they fall to 0-3 in the trip, 0-4 on the road. They split the season series with Miami as the Warriors, just the third time that the Warriors have concluded a season series this early within the first 8 games of a season. And the Warriors are going to be back in action in Orlando on Thursday as they'll look to try and get their first road win of the season against the Magic, and then the Pelicans to follow there. Andrew Wiggins played better. Klay Thompson scored at a higher rate. Klay Thompson tonight hit 4 threes. He tied J.R. Smith for now 17th place on the all-time three-point list with 1,930. Andrew Wiggins, better offensive output for him. 4th 20-point game of the season as he finished with 21 after a couple of 10-point outings in the recent games. And the Warriors waste a Steph Curry triple-double, the 10th career triple-double for Curry, 23, 13, and 13. The Warriors now 8-2 when Curry has a triple-double. So that is just the second time that the Warriors have lost a Steph Curry triple-double game. He also hit the three-pointer, 1 of 4 tonight, to extend his record of 197 consecutive games in the regular season with at least 1 3. So that'll do it. Back with you Thursday, 3 o'clock with Warriors Live. I will have that for you as the Warriors take on the Magic and then Warriors wrap up after the game. So thanks to Sterling Bennett. Thanks to everybody in our San Francisco studios. Fox Sports Radio is coming your way next. The Heat, they beat the Dubs tonight, 116-109, and you heard it right here on 95.7 The Game. We'll talk to you on Thursday.
There's a reason Comcast Business powers more businesses than any other provider. Actually, there's a few. Comcast Business offers the fastest, reliable network, the peace of mind that comes with Security Edge, helping to protect all your connected devices, and the most reliable 5G mobile network. Want me to keep going? I can. Whether your small business is starting or growing, you need Comcast Business. Technology solutions that put you ahead and give you serious savings. Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
Get started with fast speeds and advanced security for just $49.99 a month for 12 months with no annual contract. Plus, ask how to get up to a $750 prepaid card with a qualifying bundle. Offer ends 12/5/2022. Restrictions apply. New Comcast Business 50 megabits per second internet and Security Edge customers only. EcoBill and autopay required. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra and subject to change. Most reliable based on Root Metrics US report. Results vary, not an endorsement.
At Harris Ranch, we do beef, just like we've done for over 50 years. Beef that's raised locally right here in California. Tender steaks, awesome burgers, and California classics like tri-tip roast.